One of the most infamous hostage incidents in history begins on November 4th, 1979, and doesn't end until nearly a year and a half later. The Iran hostage crisis.
For 444 days, we were humiliated, from mock firing squads to Russian roulette, stripped nude.
Islamic students, militants, are angry with the American government over its support of the deposed Shah of Iran. In what will become the single most iconic image of the crisis, the students lead their American hostages, blindfolded, out of the American embassy in Tehran and parade them before photographers. For months leading up to the crisis, Iran has been in political turmoil. The Western-supported Shah of Iran is ousted after the Islamic Revolution in February. At the time, Barry Rosen is a press attaché with the U.S. Embassy in Tehran.
We were in a very volatile situation for those 9 months or so. And much of it came to a head when the Shah was permitted into the United States for medical reasons.
Mobs of students are protesting outside the U.S. Embassy.
Imagine 250,000 people chanting "Death to America." People knew that the tensions were very high.
On the morning of November 4th, 1979, 10 months into the protests, Rocky Sickman, a 22-year-old Marine security guard, gets a distress call that Iranian students are storming the embassy grounds.
Over the gate came these individuals. I took off running back to the main embassy building.
Many of these students started to shake the main gate and to climb over or use cutters to cut the chain.
Sickman and another Marine make it inside the building just as a group of students makes it through the gate.
Your adrenaline's pumping. But at the same time, you're trying to load your pistol and you're sitting there thinking, here's Rocky Sickman from Rockwell, Missouri. This is where it's going to end.
Sickman says he and his colleagues are ready to shoot, but receive an order to stand down.
Our orders were don't fire, don't antagonize, because help is on the way. We've got people coming and we'll get this resolved.
But instead of resolution, it's more revolution. The iconic image of the students parading their hostages before the media is replayed countless times to a country that feels it's being held hostage.
The morning that we were taken, they brought us out of the front of the embassy. There were thousands of people at this point in time.
The 52 Americans become human bargaining chips as the students demand the U.S. return the Shah to Iran. For the next 14 months, Rosen says the captors abuse them physically and emotionally.
They'd come into your cell at night and put you against the wall, put a gun against your neck, and say, "We could kill you," and then walk right out.
My worst day was when they put me up against that wall, stripped nude with 3 rifles.
The captors force the hostages to say things on camera that make it seem they're sympathetic to the students' cause.
I know that they keep telling us they want the Shah to return to Iran and will be released.
On multiple occasions, the Iranian students release staged videos of hostages, including Barry Rosen, shown here, being examined by doctors. All propaganda to convince the West they're treating the hostages humanely.
There were times that they had some people coming in and checking on our health. And so sure enough, they used that and videotaped that. They brought the weights that we had at the embassy from our weight room. They knew that they needed this healthy to be able to negotiate.
As the days turn into weeks and then months, the hostages wonder if the outside world has forgotten about them. But actually, the hostage crisis remains a lead story.
The American embassy in Tehran is in the hands of Muslim students tonight.
During the 9th day of the crisis over the hostages in Iran,
On the 49th day of the embassy takeover,
the militants who have held the hostages for 124 days, this is the 300th day of their captivity.
About 6 months into the crisis, there's a rescue attempt. But Operation Eagle Claw is a disaster. The mission is aborted, and as American forces are on their way out of Iran, a helicopter crashes into a C-130, killing 8 American servicemen. It's an embarrassment for President Jimmy Carter. Afterward, the captors scatter the hostages across the country to make a second rescue attempt nearly impossible. Then, on January 20th, 1981, there's finally a break.
Good evening. On the 444th and final day of the hostage crisis,
I, Ronald Reagan, do solemnly swear.
Minutes after President Ronald Reagan's inaugural address, the hostages are released. A dark chapter in the nation's history has ended. They're coming home.
All of us got on the plane, counted, made sure everybody was there.
There's no high fives, there's no screaming. I mean, people are still in shock and still concerned if this is really going to happen.
The hostages head to the United States, where they reunite with the families they haven't seen in more than a year. The emotional moments are caught on camera and carried live on TV.
My brothers and sisters and my girlfriend were all waiting for me and my mom and dad to get off the airplane.
I remember getting off the plane, and there I'm met by Barbara and the kids. It was good again. It was great again.
Shortly after their arrival on U.S. soil, the hostages are honored with a parade down New York City's Canyon of Heroes.
You could see New Yorkers were just so happy to see us. It became a national parade, and it really meant something to all of us. It was at that time we got the idea that God, we weren't forgotten.